Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Max the Curse of Brotherhood. You can see now I'm back on the main menu. For some reason my entire video card decided to just report an error and get shut down by Windows after, right, like 5 minutes after, I would say, the first recording, and I just reset my computer to fix that. Which that is disconcerting. It is definitely a new problem, but I have been having a lot of different problems with my hardware lately, and I don't know if it is really my video card or if it is just Windows being poorly programmed or this game being poorly programmed. For a game that really doesn't have any video options, I don't know what I could really do with that, but that certainly shouldn't have happened. Um, but yeah, we can see now that we are seeing a different, better rendered background now that the game has started, which honestly it should have just started this way instead of having a background of their house, and honestly having the background of their house and then this different background makes it imply that there probably is at least two or three other locations with two or three other menu backgrounds, which really shows an over emphasis on the backgrounds. Also, if you look at the type set or the logo for Max, you have this Max that is kind of crumbling at the base, and then Brotherhood has glasses with a broken glasses. So thematically, that implies that there is potentially going to be more to all of this.
I won't survive that.
So we can't fall. We can fall about half the length and half the height, but you can't fall the full length, which that does establish something as far as just to understand and get a general idea of how far is a safe jump versus how far is not a safe jump. There, I've gotten yet another achievement. Now I assume this guy with the teeth is gonna need to eat that guy with the spikes. So we'll just bring him down that way. That being said, I am seeing something interesting here.
Awesome.
Interesting. I was thinking maybe that being on top of this guy would lead to a trampoline type experience, but I guess not. So I guess the idea here is we're just gonna let the guy with the hat walk back and forth. I can tell immediately that the physics on this is programmed pretty roughly. I am like sliding quite a bit.
Nice job, Max.
There really is just a overemphasis on visuals and an underemphasis on... Interesting, I could break that. Underemphasis on some of the more underlying gameplay mechanics. Which, yeah, the Unity engine when this game came out versus the Unity engine now probably is a little bit more optimized so that it's a little easier It's probably a little bit harder to mess up in that aspect and have a badly
Now what?
designed game.
Soul, say something. Oh, I get it. Fettuccine, huh?
Okay, so we can't just break it. We've got to get this rock, which arguably should be a little bit rounder.
Bullseye.
What's interesting about this too is this really goes to show how varied a game described as a puzzle platformer can really be, because we really are doing puzzle platforming here, where many games call themselves puzzle platformers but really barely have any puzzles, and many games just call themselves platformers and admit they have no puzzles. Very few games are going to try and make that their main thing. I did not see that eye, which that does open the door certainly now that I will just miss an eyeball because I physically don't see it. This definitely feels like a game that you could just continuously have sequels with. You could just have the brother getting kidnapped once again, in the same way that, you know, Princess Peach and Mario are constantly getting kidnapped. He has this kind of throw his hand out as action when your marker becomes. Now the question I guess would really come down to, is that everything I need, or is that only in part what I need?
Nice.
We'll just leave that guy up there for the moment, and we'll see if we can just jump up here. Yeah, you know, there aren't that many. Really isn't that many eyeballs or collectibles per level, so you're fairly safe. And by keeping the levels somewhat limited like this, that does make it less likely that I'll miss something. And honestly, that does make the whole thing feel more like a kid's game, which that's fine. This works as a kid's game. Like, as if I was gonna make a sequel to this, I definitely would improve the physics, improve some of the animations. Maybe you'd establish a new bad guy in the sequel. Maybe you'd just bring back the same old Bowser type character. Eventually you would want, and I guess if you have all the eyes and all the secrets at this point, there's no point in looking. Eventually you'd want to be able to play as the other brother, or introduce some other characters. You see there's two reflections in the back there, and I wonder if that
Felix,
indicates
I'm
something.
coming to save you. Whoa!
I think you would want to speed up
Whoa!
this kind of death sequences and get rid of the Dutch angles. Certainly. They're getting
Now what?
very big here with the puzzles.
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
Another chase sequence, but kind of intelligently as a chase sequence, done because things are breaking more than because things are chasing you. Interesting how time slowed down there for that one instant. And that was that. Cool sequences, nonetheless. And here we have another cutscene where they're immediately going to ask us to press the skip button.
Look at this.
A more modern game would not show the skip button until a button is pressed, and then make you hold the press
And tonight,
a button.
my spirit will inhabit you. Everlasting life.
Again, the old guy, much more realistic
And my
as far as
beast
wrinkly.
will take care of Max.
And I guess if I was desperate to make a lot of episodes, I would stop now, but we've only been going 12 minutes. Let's do a couple episodes. Even though it does feel like the episodes are going to get longer.
Town is just up ahead. Watch your step. It is now in the hands of Mustasha.
Smile Town. Well, I managed to bone that up. Imagine what I was supposed to do was go all the way up to that, and then all the way up to that, and then jump. And I just barely missed the jumps before.
Max, watch out. It is one of Mustasho's henchmen.
So now we may be playing more of a stealth game than an actual puzzle platforming game. You can see this town is pretty much destroyed. The bomb there actually stopped short. I almost wondered if this was a kind of a case where I almost wondered if this was more of a case where you would have like one about good eyesight, one about good dentistry, and these guys can smash
You guys are
things.
just too slow.
But if you went good eyesight and then you went good dentistry, I don't know.
Wake up, small town.
I don't know where else you could go with that. Like clean hands. Those are all things you tell little kids to focus on. I don't think anybody's gonna actually wake up ringing the bells. But there was an achievement around that, which potentially means there might be an achievement around something else. Okay. We can get up there. We can get up there. I have no idea the trick past that. My only hope, I think, would be to have him. And he's just gonna hit you. Would be the. Yeah. And see, this is going to be a problem because you're going to really just need your timing to be fairly good. Or something else to happen.
You're not too clever.
You're doing a lot of running and jumping, which is what kids would do at a playground for as much as kids actually play at playgrounds these days. So I would think that perhaps you'd try to parallel some of the other things like slides. I don't understand that one.
Another piece. Well done.
Yeah, slides and swings and... I have no idea where this guy is. What is the spinny one? That one still is fairly iconic. Try to find some equivalents to things like that. And then
The forest wall.
we
Built
have
to
another
protect the
crazy
town.
angle.
On the other side of that, Mustachio's lands.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we're going to have very little time in the city. And you would think if this was more of a adult focused game, there might be more characters introduced in the city, to more of a reason to
Whoa.
like more of a reason to defeat Mustachio. If you needed more reason, the game is a little short for it to actually need to tell you a secondary reason though. Like, you already been told to save your brother, and you actively seem to be cool with that being your motivator. Right. So I'm guessing the trick here is I'm supposed to do something like this. Well, I don't know if that was the goal or not, but
Whoa.
No, I think the goal really is to rotate it like that. And just hope that's good enough. I guess that was the only way to do that. And there's yet another achievement finished. It's no surprise that many people, including myself, became obsessed with achievements and gamer score when it was first introduced in Xbox 360s. It was a very fun new way to engage with games originally, and it was definitely something we'd never seen before. Unfortunately, it became very jaded.
Place, but your weapon will gain new powers here.
Yeah. Like, and eventually you had a lot of games that just felt like they were being forced by Microsoft, because at a point Microsoft was saying you did have to have at least 2 achievements. Even now,
Below you lies the
the game The Witness is kind of a example of that.
But your weapon will gain new
In that he was forced to have at least 2 achievements, and so he gave like 1 achievement for beating the game and 1 achievement for doing the hardest puzzle in the game, and that was it, because the player, the creator of the game The Witness, didn't really care for achievements. And by that point, by the time The Witness had come out, that was fairly true. We're still in the city level. Like, a decent number of people at that point really were not super happy with the idea of achievements being forced onto game creators. And achievements, they became corrupted very quickly, because even though in the Xbox 360 system, getting an achievement and increasing your gamer score didn't really do anything, it still became a point of bragging. I had like 60,000 gamer score, which at the time was a fairly high number, and for many people, I imagine, it's still a very high number. Before I eventually just stopped playing on Xbox and gave up on all that. Steam has never embraced a gamer score aspect, and their achievements only get highlighted if you get all of the achievements, which for half the games on Steam, that's either impossible or just a incredible waste of time. Many games would require you to play a lot of games on multiplayer, and they're just so old by the time they even launch on Steam that there is not that much of a multiplayer fan base. A lot of this platforming, certainly, though, is just going with the flow. So you have definitely a few places where we're seeing some difficulty spikes, but for the vast majority of these jumps, it's very natural just to hit the A button and succeed. Now, when there is a difficulty spike, you often have to time it perfectly, or much closer to perfectly. But yeah.
Welcome to the forest, Max. You are close to the first holy place on our path.
So we are now seeing a reduction in the number of evil eyes down to 3 from 4. And we've gone 25 minutes, so that's good enough, close enough to 30 for us to end. Yep. And yeah, this is definitely a game that is handing out achievements. Even what a game like this, which is probably one of the first generation of games to have achievements in it, is already kind of abusing it and handing it out like candy, to the point where they've devalued the phrase achievement, because you're not really achieving anything. And you do have this problem where half of the achievements were secrets or jokes also. So I guess if you were going to try and rebuild the idea of achievements again, you would break it up and you'd say there are achievements, there are secrets, and then there are probably some mainline storyline accomplishments. And achievement and accomplishments are synonyms, but you might want to break them apart a little bit more and recategorize it. You probably would want at least 5 or 6 categories, if not a whole lot more, to be able to sort through. But it really should be a thing where if you beat the story of a game, there should be an acknowledgement of beating the story of a game for players. If you beat the game on hard instead of playing on easy, there probably should be a separate category for that. That way people can brag about playing games on harder, but they're not forced to play every single game on hard, which that was a problem with achievements. And then there should be surprise achievements and secret extra achievements that are in a third category, at the very least, when you do something silly that's unexpected. For instance, like dying 100 times. That's not really an achievement that should be in the same category as beating the game on hard, and yet they've all got mixed into that same category, and it devalued what the meaning of the phrase achievement even meant, because effectively getting all the achievements, even in the first generation of games, boiled down to just looking up a list online of what the achievements were and then doing all of those things, even if those things were fairly unnatural actions. Dying 100 times for some players in some games are going to be is going to be a very big ask. Or playing in multiplayer. Yeah, there definitely should be single player categories and multiplayer categories, because there are going to be people that can't play multiplayer because multiplayer has been shut down. This game particularly doesn't even have multiplayer, but there are also going to be people that just don't want to play in multiplayer or aren't allowed because they're little kids to play multiplayer, and so that being mixed in the category, in the same categories, is also a problem. And at the end of the day, achievements never really rewarded quite enough as you would like. You would have liked there to be some kind of currency associated with achievements in playing the games, because that is something that the game industry forgets about, is they really need people playing the games a little bit more, or eventually, maybe it'll take 2 or 3 decades, eventually people are going to say, I buy all these games on Steam but I never play them, I'm just going to stop buying games. Personally, I'm kind of in that spot where I have a lot of games on Steam and don't spend enough time playing them, so it's hard to then justify buying new games. So some kind of currency that lets you buy costumes or something like that, or even potentially let you have store credit to actually buy games or DLC for games, would be very much appreciated. That would lead to a lot of people potentially than trying to grind out achievements or find some kind of scam to get free content or free games. But honestly, you could make it so it's not really worth a lot of people's time for that, even if if it is a person in a third world country who has nothing better to do. Grinding out achievements to get an in-game costume, for instance, is not going to really turn into real world money very easily. But yeah, nothing ever came about with that. And instead, Xbox gave you a huge gamer score, and then the gamer score never meant anything. And then they also went down the direction of Xbox Game Pass, where games became very close to almost free anyways, where you're just paying a monthly service to get access to a bunch of very old games, which Max Curse of the Brotherhood is probably on Xbox Games Pass, or has been at least in the past. So certainly Microsoft and Xbox set themselves a interesting foundation of having a ton of games that they could then potentially give away for free in a monthly service, instead of trying to only focus on AAA console sellers coming out once or twice a month. It's definitely approaching a Netflix model with games nowadays. Oh wait, well, there's not a lot of reason to sit here and continue talking, so we'll end this episode. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.